Here with Ron and Romane. Well, today Romane is dealing with some family issues, so um, we have to again send our condolences after such a tragedy. We all know Monday, 6 people were gunned down at a church school. Sorry, Nashville, Tennessee. And again, it involved our most vulnerable young children, 3 9-year-olds and 3 members of the staff at the school, Covey Christian School, was senselessly killed by, again, a deranged individual armed with assault. And, how many of these are we going to have in this country before we take something back? Not necessarily uh, curbing things, but maybe just being more judicious with who gets their hands. Reportedly, this young lady had a doctor's care or psychiatric facility. Why anybody might in fact, she had 7. So we want to send our thoughts, our prayers to those families who are and to the community of Nashville as a whole. I know they grieve, but they should grieve the nation. These are children that have been slain. So this morning, our party in time is here today. So the mastermind teaches Square and I just going to have a brother talk there. And there's so much going on that we can talk about. And you listen to CNN, Fox, Nation, and whatever news outlet you prefer, outlet of choice, none of them really give you a perspective from a black person. And we have a lot to say, we have a big whatever, but seldom. So today, he can share some of our views on what's going on. Aside from the violence that permeates this entire country, there's also some other things that are great concern to the community. Right now, we've had a presidential indictment. TP and I talked about this at length about if Trump, former President Trump, would ever face criminal charges. I know for many people, this is beyond their wildest dream, that Donald Trump, former President of the United States, would be indicted in criminal charges. Well, folks, it happened. The district attorney, who, by the way, is a black man, Brad, has unsealed an indictment for a 30-count indictment against former President Donald Trump. And of course, the country is sharply divided over this issue. Many on the right are saying that this is, to coin a phrase by Donald Trump, a witch hunt. In fact, all of the investigation from, according to former President, have a witch hunt. This case, he's saying it's misconduct and that there is no basis for this. I think that's interesting. People around Donald Trump have pled guilty. Some have gone to jail. Yet for Trump, he is completely innocent. The people around him are guilty, but he himself, well, no hope of it. When you think about the former president, you have to think of Donald Trump in terms of somebody like a character like John Gotti. For those of you that aren't familiar, John Gotti was a mafia figure. He was the head of the Gambino crime family. For a period of time, Gotti was called the Teflon Don because even though he had been indicted and charged multiple times, none of the charges would stick. He would beat the charges at trial time after time. So I guess for Trump, it's pretty much the same thing. Trump has been sued on many occasions, but he's never really been in legal jeopardy or faced the possibility of prison time. This is uncharted territory for the country, for the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, and also for the former president. So in preparation of Trump, former President Trump, surrendering on Tuesday, security has been beefed up throughout the entire city of New York in anticipation that there may be some protests that could potentially become violent. Is it possible we will see protests on the same scale as we saw on January 6th? I don't know. Currently, there's no indication that we'll see anything wrong. But based on what the former president is saying in some of his posts or suggesting, it seems as if he's sort of hoping that is what will happen. And his supporters, his most strident supporters, of course, they think that this is all just political motivation, that there is no basis for charging the former president. Again, this is something that we talked about. It's something that has been discussed across the nation. Would Trump ever be put in front of a judge and potentially in front of a jury? So, TP, now that he's been indicted, what do you think happens next?
Well, in my opinion, what happens next, the country will be divided probably 65-35. 65 for the conviction. And I say that because I think everybody's tired of his rhetoric and his mess, and that feeling that he gives out, and the message that he gives out, that he's above the law. And it doesn't help much that Fox News has been totally exposed being liars. So they're all tied together.
Right.
So some of the people who they said were poor and uneducated, who didn't understand what was going on, who were being hoodwinked and cable told by Fox News, now they're woke.
Right.
But they say they don't, it's a woke thing, but now they're woke. They realize that, hey, we've been duped. You know what I mean? And with that being said, I think the American public has had enough of Donald Trump, unfortunately, because he wasn't 100% bad for the country. Some of the things he did. Right? If he just played the regular politician role and played nice with everybody, his true feelings about people, different people and cultures, would have been hidden, but he couldn't keep his mouth shut. So now the chickens are coming home to roost. And with that being said, he has to pay the piper. He did these things. He broke the law. They're saying that him going to trial is unprecedented, these charges. But guess what? The only reason why Nixon wasn't brought on charges is because the people around him said, "Listen, man, you're gonna go to jail."
Right. And he was not.
They cut the deal. Walk away, and there'll be no perp walk for you. Donald Trump didn't have the wisdom or spiritual ear to listen because they think he's a god. You know, he thinks he's the Teflon Don now. So they had to show him that you're gonna get this perk off.
You know, what's interesting is that Donald Trump has been indicted, as I said before, like 30 count indictment. But I was listening to some of the news outlets on my way in, and they were saying that Trump's numbers are trending upward
Mm-hmm.
in terms of support for the presidential primary.
Mm-hmm.
So even with the former president under indictment, he's still the front runner for the Republican Party for president of the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you think about it, right, it's not unheard of because over in Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu
Mm-hmm.
is facing corruption charges
Mm-hmm. He got reelected.
and was reelected as prime minister.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess maybe Trump's people are looking at that situation and saying, well,
But Ron, you have to do the knowledge. What do they have in common? Right? They have some things in common, right? And they utilize fear, you know, and being replaced, wiped out, annihilated, to get people to rally behind them. Because guess what? They're running from the same playbook. You know what I mean? The replacement theory isn't something that's new. You know, it's always been there. The replacement theory has always been there. And that's what they're running off. So, you know, when you don't know any better and you are afraid, you know, what they say, the fear lasts longer. And that's what he's working on for. So that's why his numbers are trending up. You know what I mean? And for him, Trump is a very smart man. He's not dumb by no account. You know, he's mean and selfish, but he's not a dumb man. You know, he knows how to play the numbers. And in my opinion, he will be the front runner and the nominee because all these idiots are going to run against him. And it's going to split the vote. And he's going to get 20% of the vote. And that'll be enough for him to become the nominee.
Well, you know, what Trump has said, if he doesn't win the Republican nomination, he will run as an independent, which will, of course, cause a rift in the Republican Party. I mean, there's already a rift. You have those who are pro-Trump and those who are trying to, I guess, reestablish the Republican Party, because right now the Republican Party is fractured, right? You have factions within the Republican Party that are literally fighting one another. You know, Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert had a fist fight in the U.S. Capitol, in the ladies' room.
Really? I didn't know about that.
Oh, yeah, they had a fist fight in the Capitol, in the ladies' room, right?
I thought they was on the same team.
No, they're Republicans, yes, but their ideologies are not exactly the same, right? Lauren Boebert, I think, is part of, I want to say the Freedom Caucus or something like that.
Okay.
And she and Marjorie Taylor Greene do not see eye to eye. So the current state of the Republican Party is not very good.
Wow.
In fact, they have lost election after election. You know, the people like Trump handpicked, like here in Pennsylvania, you backed Dr. Oz against John Fetterman. And of course, he lost. And in several races across the nation, same thing. People handpicked by Donald Trump lost. So in some respects, the Trump mystique is kind of dying out. But this prosecution, because there's others that are going to follow, that's kind of bolstered it. See, one thing,
he's good at playing the victim.
And you know what else he's good at? Trump is good at manipulating the media, right? One thing Trump could never survive, and that is not having attention. once he gets that attention, he knows how to manipulate at least those that support him. And there's still a number of people out there that back the president, not a former president. I think I heard coming in that people polled Republicans, about 80% or more think that there is no basis for these charges. 80%, right? I know the polling numbers, I know it's going to take about maybe 2,500 people, to get random polling. But, 80% of those polled think that this is a witch hunt, that there is no basis for these charges. Now, in terms of the case itself, a lot of people saying the New York case is probably the weakest of the potential prosecution because we're dealing with hush money and some possible campaign violation, campaign funding violation.
This is tax fraud, state tax fraud.
So they were saying it may be E felony, which in New York is the lowest level of felony, right? Mm-hmm. So with an E felony, there was a potential for jail time, right? But I think that what the Manhattan District Attorney has done, he has just hobbled together a case with multiple indictments, or multiple counts rather, so that if we can't get you on count 1 through 10, we might get you on 11 through 15, right? If you throw enough sticky stuff, eventually something is going to stick to you.
Absolutely.
Right. And, this is just the beginning. I think.
But one thing you got to keep in mind in the comparison of Donald Trump and John Gotti. John Gotti bribed the jurors.
He did.
He had inside track.
He did.
I don't think Trump has that.
I think that
influence maybe, but not the physical inside track.
Well, about a week or so ago, Trump went on his, I think it's called Truth and Social Media site, and he announced on the site that he was going to be arrested on the following Tuesday. Well, that didn't happen. I think that perhaps Trump was fed faulty information to throw him off the scent, right? I don't think there was any intention on, charging him that Tuesday. I think this information was purposely fed to him to make him believe. And then, in the weeks and days leading up to the actual indictment, they were talking about the grand jury was going to recess for the month of April, right? With spring recess, with the kids, stuff like that. People would have time, off from the grand jury, spend time with their family. So the former president was actually congratulating the grand jury, thinking he was out of the woods. And next thing you know, the indictment is taken in. So publicly, Trump has been his usual self. Arrogant, brash, what you would expect from the president, the former president. But privately, I think Trump has to be concerned.
Oh, yeah.
This case in New York, yes, it is the weakest of the prosecution.
But it's the prelude to the kiss.
You better believe it. Now, when he gets down to Georgia,
you cancel Christmas.
The problem is, if he would have listened to his advisors, they probably would have told him, Mr. President, do not make that call to Brad Raffensperger because there's a potential it could be taped or someone could be listening in. You don't make a call on unsecured line.
Everything from the White House is recorded. And if you use his White House phone, cell phone, guess what? It's recorded. So wisdom is something he really doesn't have. Common sense he doesn't have.
And the ability to listen, right, and take direction from others, right, who are more skilled in the political arena. Donald Trump was not. He had never held a political office in his life. So to go from being the apprentice, right, or the star of the apprentice, to being the president is a major leap.
Yeah.
And as the president of a country like the United States, you have to lean heavily on your advisors and those people around you, right, who can make or break you.
But I got to say this, Ron. I used to like Donald Trump.
Really?
And like I told you before, I actually lived in one of his buildings years ago. They managed the building. I don't think he owned the building. But they just managed the building. And you know what? I respected his hustle and how he manipulated situations to enrich himself.
Mm-hmm.
He was a hustler.
Right.
I respect
that. He still is a hustler.
I respected that. He's still a hustler. I respect that. You know what I mean? I can appreciate that with him because guess what? That is the American dream, to be a hustler.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I respect that. When I lost respect for Donald Trump, I don't care how tribal you can be. Everybody said he's a racist, he's this, he's that. Everybody's tribal to some extent. And I think that racism is in my opinion, right? He might treat me one way and treat you another way. You know what I mean? So it's selective, right? But for me, with Donald Trump, when he began to appeal to the far right, after that Charlottesville situation, that's when I said, you know what? This man is crazy. He's lost it because when he kind of co-signed what they were doing, it makes it like it was okay. And somebody lost their life, and the most anti-Semitic thing I think anybody could ever say is that Jews shall never replace them.
Right.
And they were chanting some of the things from Nazi Germany. And he said there was good people on both sides.
Right.
Well, even the German people shun the years of Hitler.
Right.
And Nazism. Right? They can't wait for people to not remember Adolf Hitler. So nobody wants to be an anti-Semite, right? That's the worst thing you want to be. The worst thing you can be is labeled as a racist or anti-Semite, right? But how could you co-sign that, to appeal to the far right? Because they're lining your money with pockets, your pockets with money.
Well,
and I've also respected Donald Trump then.
Well, to be perfectly honest, I can't say that I ever had a great deal of respect for Donald Trump. Right. Now Fox News, some of the their personalities like Sean Hannity, they're coming out saying that they really didn't like Donald Trump. The other one, Tucker Carlson, said he hates Donald Trump. I can't say that I hate anybody because I don't. I never cared for Donald Trump because of his brand, because of his arrogance. Just not my cup of tea. And what really did it for me was when those 5 young men, now known as the exonerated 5, were arrested and charged with rape in the case of the Central Park jogger. Donald Trump, as you know, took out a front page ad in every New York periodical and said that these guys should be put to death. For these young men,
and he's
black and brown men, never apologized. Black and brown men in this country have a history with the criminal justice system, right, of being treated unfairly. Now you have an influential person like Donald Trump taking out this ad in every New York periodical. How did that affect the potential jury pool? So after 7 years of being incarcerated, they determined that these kids really didn't do anything, that they were not involved in a rape and beating of this woman. Donald Trump never thought to say, hey guys, I made a mistake. I'm sorry, I was wrong. He'll never do that. And that is because one of Donald Trump's legal advisors years ago, and I guess somewhat of a mentor, was Roy Cohn. And Roy Cohn's his philosophy was to always go on the attack. Never apologize. Never say you're sorry. Never admit to anything. Just stay on the attack. And that has been Donald Trump's playbook. Always on the attack. You know, in the case of Stormy Daniels, which is one of the, I guess, catalysts for this prosecution, you know, there's pictures of the two of them together. Well, in a recent rally, he said, no, I never had anything to do with it. Now he's referring to her as horseface.
Horseface.
Right. Now she's not attractive. Now she's not his type. Well, if all that's true, why are you taking pictures with her? This is before he ran for president. Right? So it's not like this is just a supporter who you're looking to score some votes from. So, of course, you know, none of us were in the room to say what happened, you know, with certainty. But, you know, that is the playbook, always on the attack. And at this point, when you are faced with a 30-count indictment, is staying in attack mode the best defense?
Nope, not at all.
I don't think so. You know, I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but to say you want to attack, you need to be able to defend your actions.
Well, you know what's funny to me?
What's that?
His lead attorney in New York,
Joseph Tacopino?
Right. When they first talked about these charges, before he was his attorney, he said that Donald Trump's goose was going to get cooked.
Right.
You know, he said that, you know, it's just a matter of time. He's going to be indicted. He's going to be dead in the water. There's nothing to do about it.
Mm-hmm.
So guess what? You go hire this guy to come represent you, and now he's saying a whole different story. Well, there's other things that we could do. You know, it's a weak case. It's this, it's that. But you were the one who got on CNN and all these news stations and said that the guy's a crook. He's a criminal, and he should be prosecuted. Mm-hmm. And nobody's above the law.
Well, if you notice, right, what I find very interesting is Donald Trump's former attorney is nowhere to be seen. I'm talking about Rudy. Mm-hmm. Rudy Giuliani, who said he was Donald Trump's attorney, who was also in attack mode during Trump's presidency. Rudy Giuliani, who was backing some of these conspiracy theories, that Dominion voting system, mm-hmm. right, had manipulated the machines. Rudy Giuliani, who took two black women, a mother and daughter, and said they were walking around with votes, right, with ballots, destroyed these two women's lives. Death threats, everything. They had to move some of their businesses on hiding because of Giuliani calling them out by name.
But you know what's sad?
What's that?
He's playing that he's sick now. They're saying that he has some minor case of dementia going on right now.
Oh, he got dementia now.
That's what they're saying.
How convenient. Yeah. Right. But you know what? Unfortunately, people in this country who have been found to be mentally defective have been put on death row and executed. So, you know, it's unfortunate that he may be having some symptoms of dementia. But, you know, it's just a little too convenient for me. Mm-hmm. After you destroyed multiple people's lives. Well, now, I think that after Trump is prosecuted, I think Rudy Giuliani should be next.
Oh, he will be next.
He should be.
Oh.
Because, you know, they called him America's mayor. Mm-hmm. But what exactly did Rudolph Giuliani do? They say he cleaned up New York. Giuliani didn't do anything. No. It was the police department that used aggressive policing tactics, some of which were illegal. It was the other city agencies that stepped up. It was all of the private investment that cleaned up 42nd Street and other areas of the city. It wasn't Giuliani. Giuliani duped a lot of city workers, namely the NYPD, right, to get elected. Here's a man like Trump that will use any means at his disposal to get what he wants. Giuliani, and I can remember this, when Giuliani was running for office against former Mayor Dinkins, Giuliani using racial epithets to describe the mayor. And he had police officers out at this rally also using racial epithets to describe the mayor of the city of New York. So he's an opportunist, just like Trump is. But it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. This is a first for this country, and I'm hoping that it's not the last. There are so many people in Washington on both sides of the aisle that need to be brought before justice. The fact that these three children and these three members of the staff at Covenant Christian School are dead is just another example of government inaction, not doing a damn thing. We pay these people to represent us, yet what the hell are they doing? So yeah, a lot of them should be indicted and brought on charges.
You know what's funny is, I'm wondering what's going to happen with Fox News, because a judge just said that the Dominion can go move forward with their lawsuit, and that all the things they were saying that need to come out of the lawsuit is okay to move forward with.
Yeah,
basically, the judge said, "You guys are guilty. You did it. You're a bunch of liars. You knew you were spreading lies. You're not news.
Mm-hmm.
You are, what do we call it? What do they consider the Inquirer? Those type of magazines.
Tabloids.
Yeah. You are just putting out nonsense.
Right.
You're not a reputable news station.
Something?
There was no fact checking of anything you did. You just said whatever you want to say.
Well, you know what?
These people.
Now, I don't watch Fox News, but in there, I guess I'll say a type of defense. All media outlets do that. I can remember, and this is going back, I guess, maybe 10 years or so ago, and you probably remember this. There was I want to say maybe a China Airways, Asiana aircraft that crashed in San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a female newscaster got on the air, and they said, "We now know the names of the crew." And she's on a major news outlet saying that the crew consisted of a pilot, Wee Too Low, Bang Din Owl, right? Somebody called in with these fake names, and nobody bothered to fact check. So this woman looked like a complete fool. Bang Din Owl, Wee Too Low, Something Wrong, and she couldn't figure that out. So none of them really do their due diligence, Fox News just got caught with their pants down, figuring, well, we'll say this and nothing's going to happen. Well, Dominion said, wait a minute, you irreparably damaged our business, right? People lost faith in our voting machine, which causes economic harm. So they're going to get a lot of money from Fox News.
I think they're going to get enough from Fox News out of business.
I don't know, because the Murdoch family has tons of money.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? So, and for just Rupert Murdoch, if you take Fox off the air, he's still got the New York Post, he's still got the Daily News, and several other outlets across the country.
He owns the Daily News too?
I believe he owns the Daily News as well. And of course, he owns Fox Sports, and so many other media outlets. So, yeah, Fox News, I think, is there.
I know he owns some stuff in the UK and down in Australia too.
Where he's from.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this guy's all over the place. So, to take away one, and Fox News is probably the flagship, and it would hurt him, but it won't knock him out. It won't be a knockout blow.
Well, I'm sure it wouldn't be a total knockout blow to him and his empire, but to erase Fox News will damage his ego more than anything else.
It would,
and it would send a message to every news outlet: stop it, or you're next.
You would hope so.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want to spend too much time on Trump. There is a story that my wife actually told me about that from last year, and I don't know if it's gotten proper airtime. So it's something that I think everyone needs to be made aware of. So last year in October, a young Black man, I believe he's 25 years old, by the name of Raheem Carter. Are you familiar with this case?
No.
Okay. So this young man, he's down in Laurel, Mississippi, which is his hometown, and he calls his mother from his cell phone, and he says, "Hey, I'm being followed by white men in pickup trucks," and he was concerned. So his mother said, "Listen, go to the nearest police station and report it." Taking his mother's advice, the young man went to the police department, walked in and told them, "Look, these guys are following me, and I'm concerned for my safety." Well, essentially, what happened, as I understand it, the police told him that there was nothing they could do because he was traveling out of Laurel from one county to the next, and that they could not escort him because it was outside of their jurisdiction, which is ridiculous. If you are law enforcement, you are law enforcement for the entire state.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going from one county to another to serve a warrant or to make an arrest. You're just doing an escort. They told him they could not escort him and that he could not remain in the police department, that he had to leave. This young man left, and that was the last time his mother spoke to him. About a month later, they found his body, which had been mutilated.
Mm. He
had been decapitated. The local law enforcement, initially they said he committed suicide. Now, how do you cut your own head off and mutilate yourself? Then the story changed, and they said that it's probably some animal that came and ripped his body apart. Thus, the condition the body was found in. The autopsy, which was done, I believe, in February of this year, told a very different story. Now, Attorney Benjamin Crump is involved, and he's calling for a federal investigation. After something like that happens, why do you need to call for a federal investigation? Why is it not that the feds would automatically step in? This is a clear-cut case of civil rights violation that somebody needs to investigate and find out what happened to this young man. So at this point, the family is, of course, hoping that someone will be brought to justice. And this is something that I haven't seen this story in the mainstream media. It's not something we're talking about. And why not?
Wow.
Here's a case, and in my opinion, there had to be some sort of connection or nexus between the police department and those that killed this young man. Because They told him,
of course, it was connection. They all know each other. They knew what was.
how do you tell somebody who comes into asking for help, who's in fear for their safety, that they can't stay in the police department? I've never heard of such.
That's horrible.
Who tells a person that's asking for just an escort to the next county that you can't do that? This young man just trying to go home, and they tell him it's out of their jurisdiction. Again, you're not serving a warrant. You're not making an arrest. All you're doing is escorting this man home so that he can feel safe and secure. Instead, this young man's body is found decapitated and mutilated all over Mississippi. You know, it's
horrible.
It's insane.
This is the world we live in, man.
It is, and it's only getting worse. You know, but TP, you know, I just enjoy, you know, these brother talks, you know, because our voices aren't heard enough.
Not at
right?
all. Not at all.
No. You know, and of course, like I said, we have ideas, we have an opinion, and we need to get the message out there. So, you know, I think all of you who, you know, listen to us and support Gynesis Radio, and please continue to do so, because things you're going to hear at Gynesis Radio, you're not going to hear in the mainstream media. They're reading off the script, and it's all about their corporate benefactor and carrying a corporate line. Here, you're going to hear a different perspective. Here, you're going to hear some things that hopefully are thought-provoking. So please join us again next Saturday, and hopefully my partner in time will be here. So I thank you for listening, and I thank you, Brother TP,
without a doubt,
for spending this hour with me. So I hope to see you again next Saturday.